I am Thomas, and this is a true crime case that rocked New York City, shook it to its core in 1990 till 1993. And that's the case of the Zodiac killer, the New York Zodiac, a copycat killer, or he was also known as the Brooklyn Sniper. There you see the picture of that individual that is obviously a complete waste of a human being, committing crimes that hurt individuals and families and just terrorized New York City. He was born in 1967. And he was active in New York City in that time frame from 1990 to 1993. He fatally shot and wounded. He shot 3 people, and he fatally shot 3 people, and he wounded 6 others. 4 critically. He was caught in June of 1996. His name is last name of Seda, and he is believed to have admired San Francisco's Zodiac killer for avoiding capture. Seda was a Brooklyn resident. The New York City police, they described him as a recluse who was obsessed with astrology and death. In case you're wondering how many years has he been sentenced to, well, he has been sentenced to 232 years in prison, and he deserves every single one of those 232 years of imprisonment. Seda, when he was committing his crimes, he was sending as well taunting messages to the police and media after each crime. Right now I'm going to show you the apartment building where Seda lived. It's considered East New York. It's on the Queens border. It's near, it's Brooklyn. You hop and a skip. You can always jump on a subway and you're within minutes to New York City. So they say this is Broadway, East New York. It's really like a Brooklyn, Queens border, I would probably tell you. And, he lived there with his mother. We'll see the apartment. I'll stop my commentary and you'll see the apartment there. It's coming up. So when he was Seda would send taunting messages to the police and media after each crime. The messages included codes based on international maritime signal flags, which New York Post journalist decoded with the assistance of his father-in-law, who was a veteran of World War II cryptography and signals intelligence. So big applause and congratulations and thank you to that journalist. That was Mr. Crowley. There you just see one of the letters that he would send and toast and taunt to New York City Police Department. Seda's letters to the police claim that he was selecting his victims based on their signs of the Zodiac and implied he would only act at certain times when specific stars were visible in the night sky. Now, the New York City Police Department, what they did is they consulted a professional astronomer whose predictions about when the killer would strike, they proved to be somewhat accurate. He used a improvised firearm, explaining in his messages that the lack of rifling marks on the bullets would prevent his capture. New York police considered the possibility that the notorious Zodiac killer may have relocated to the East Coast. And we'll stop here as we are approaching the former home of Seda. It's literally going to be right up the block. Scary enough, and I'm not sure if this was here before, but there was literally like a school, an elementary school right across the street. Imagine that. And here is the apartment. It's going to be right on the left where he lived. Right there, right in front of that pole that you see there, that is the house where Seda lived. I'm not sure what floor he lived on, honestly, but that was the apartment. So, you know, when they compared Seda, when they were, you know, when these crimes were going on in New York City, the police department thought that the famous notorious Zodiac killer from the 60s and 70s might have relocated initially from the west to the east coast, and he was starting up his crimes. Remember, the case of the Zodiac killer from the west coast in the 60s and 70s was never solved. So in the late 1960s, the Zodiac killer from the West Coast murdered at least 5 people and injured another 2 in the San Francisco area. He sent taunting letters and coded messages to local media, never identified. However, a handwriting analysis in consultation with the California authorities, that ruled out the possibility that Seda was the that Seda was the Zodiac killer from the West Coast from the 60s and 70s. So they ruled that out by, handwriting analysis. In March of 1994, Seda, he was arrested for possession of a deadly weapon after police had noticed a suspicious bulge in his jacket pocket that concealed one of his zip guns. Now, police determined that the weapon was not functional, and Seda's public defender, his attorney, got all the charges dropped and his arrest record sealed. Seda interpreted this turn of events as an omen, proving that he was beyond consequences. So this events kind of planted in his warped mind that he could get away with stuff. That he's untouchable. At 26, Seda, he was an unemployed high school dropout, and he lived with his mother and half-sister. Now, he was expelled. He was a good high school student, but he was expelled because he brought a starting pistol to school. Now, instead of attending counseling sessions, well, no, he didn't want that. He just simply decided to drop out. And because he didn't want to attend the counseling sessions to be admitted back to school. Now, he was unemployed, and his mother supported him, but obtained money by stealing coins from payphones and vending machines. Stand-up guy. Stand-up guy. Sato was mentally and physically abusive to his teenage half-sister. During a confrontation with her and her boyfriend in June of '96, he pulled out a weapon and began threatening the couple. While the boyfriend hid in the bedroom, she had tried to escape through the front door, but Sato had shot her in the buttocks. Wounded but not incapacitated, she made her way to her neighbor's apartment where she called the police. After an hours-long standoff with the police, Sato gave up his firearms and at that point was arrested. This is '96. Remember when we were talking about the timeline as far as the crimes. They had finished in '93, I believe. We are in the Woodhaven area, and we will be approaching one of the locations of where one of the crimes happened. Now, if it's a little hard to follow in the video, just you would have to know, but chronologically, the residents compared to, let's say, one, and for that matter, a couple of locations, crime locations, were near his residence. So these are all within walking distance. And it's close walking distance, where so much so, it's a possibility that someone would have recognized them. You could consider you could consider these people neighbors. These were relatively, a couple blocks away. So it's just really kind of, you're puzzled at the cockiness of him and how close these crimes were. And how close these crimes were committed to each other. We're approaching one of the locations here, and I guess we could go over and pay our respects to the victims. This would be the particular location, the street, Mr. Joe Prachi. He was shot in his lower back, hitting his kidney. He survived the attack, but he died in the hospital on June 24th of 1990. He was a veteran of war, and was actually buried with, buried with war recognitions and the honors. So the initial crime happened on May 31st, 1990. This is a quiet, back then and even now, quiet residential street. It's near the train, so that kind of posed as a escape method, but which I don't think he did. Escape through the train. I'm not sure, but this is the neighborhood right here, right about where I've stopped. This is where the crime happened. You will see a Google Earth shot of that location. You will see that right about now. There you go. That's the it happened in front of that house. We're going to take you next to one of the other locations. A couple of them happened here in the Highland Park section. Highland Park off the Jackie Robinson. Not too far away from this location either. Right? It's a hop and a skip. It's within walking distance. Patricia Fonte, shot twice and then was stabbed over 100 times. She died August of 1992. James Jim Weber, shot in the buttocks. He survived. John Coney, probably pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. July of 1993, he died. He was shot in the head at close range. October of 1993, Diane Ballard, she survived. She was shot in the neck. The bullet missed vital arteries but lodged against her spine. Gladys Reyes survived, shot in the buttocks. This was, she was a Gemini. Larry Parham survived, shot in the chest. The bullet missed his aorta and exited his body through his right armpit. March of 1990, Jermaine Monteserto, he survived, shot in the left torso of his lower body. The bullet went through his liver. Maria Orozco, Pisces, she survived. She was shot in the back. The bullet stayed lodged next to her spine. That's in March of 1990. As you could see, coward. How can you even call him human? So now, about the investigation and the trial. Authorities, they initially made no connection between Sada's arrest for the family violence against his half-sister and the string of unsolved murders that was going on. However, he closed his handwritten statement about the family incident with a symbol that resembled one that was written on one of the taunting letters to the police. From there, and we are going to Highland Park, which is another location where the murders occurred. And from there, police focused on Sada as a suspect. Despite Sada's claim that he could never be linked to the crimes due to the lack of rifling on the guns, police were able to use two mark evidence to link Sada to the attacks. Fingerprint evidence was also found, and a handwriting analysis determined that there was a strong similarity between Sada's statement and the anonymous letters that they had on file. Most damning, police found Sada's DNA on one of the stamps that had been used to mail a letter to the police. You're not so smart, Mr. Sada, are you? Now, Sada, try to do everything, mental mind games, try to pretend that he was mentally not there. He caused repeated disruptions in the court, making outbursts and shouting at the judge. And then on a glorious day of June of 1998, of June 24th, 1998, Sada was convicted by a jury after a 6-week trial. The prosecution presented testimony of 45 witnesses and introduced 150 pieces of evidence. Put this man away. And in case you didn't catch it in the earlier beginning of the video, 232 years. New York, unfortunately, does not have the death penalty here. It does not. But that would be a good thing for an individual like this, don't you think? I think so. There we've seen some of the park, the park. It's really unclear. It wasn't, or at least I couldn't find specifically. It was by a reservoir, but the park is a big park, so it would be nearly impossible to find the exact location for you. But you have an idea. The park was on both sides there in the last live clip that I showed you. And as you can see there, the park is not really well lighted, and not that it matters, because those incidences in the park from reading, they happened broad daylight apparently. So it's really wonder what goes through the minds of people. Really just warped individuals, just warped. In case you were wondering, Seda is not eligible for any parole. Like I said, 232 years. And that's a good thing. I hope all is well, guys. And I look forward to speaking to you in my next video. Do subscribe. We do a lot of true crime, famous graves, filming locations, which I haven't done in quite some time. We'll try to introduce those back into these videos. I do shorts as well. Stick around for those. Little short clips, short topic videos. Hope you enjoy them. We're marching along here, and there is have quite a few videos on deck. I'm sure that you guys will enjoy it. I do have a sports show as well, sports channel, if you're into sports, and that is the Thomas Sports Show. So, I hope all is well, and I look forward to speaking to you guys very, very soon. Take care.